What's up everyone, Kaze no What If is here with What If Naruto had a leveling system. Before we start, if you like the video, like it, share with your friends, comment, and let's start the video. The next day, early morning. Hidden Root Base. Shimura Danzo walked down the corridor of his base, the cane he held in one hand thumping against the white stone floor as he did so. The crippled old man had calmed down since his outburst the previous day and had since rethought his plan. He would need to delay Sarutobi Asuma's move into the Amekage apartments, so the little accident section of his hastily formed plan was unchanged. The part that needed alteration was his ill-conceived attempt to snatch the Jinchuriki from Training Ground 13. Sarutobi was many things: soft on foreigners, soft on the domestic front, sentimental and weak about a great deal of things, but one thing he was not was stupid. Doubtless he had Umbu watching not only the weapons home, but the weapon himself. If the old monkey caught wind of his NE operatives lurking around the Jinchuriki that he was coddling, Danzo would be up to his armpits in Umbu before he could say knife 3 times fast. So then, the obvious thing to do would be to use Newtonin to test the brat first. That had been his first thought, but he had shot it down. Let foreign scum into Konoha? It was bad enough during the Chunin exams, but honorless scum like Missing Ninja, inside his home? No. So then, he would manufacture some Missing Ninja. Fortunately, Annie had a large store of foreign ninja apparel and weaponry that they had acquired in the many years it had been active, both officially and unofficially. Just to be certain, he was having the squad he had chosen modified with the Ninpo, Karada no Chokoku, ninja art, body sculpting, technique, so their faces, at the very least, would look vastly different. That, combined with the different clothing, weapons, and hitayate that he was going to provide them, would mask the origins of his men. The operation had several possible objectives. The first would, obviously, be to kidnap the Jinchuriki and flee from Konoha, depositing the weapon in one of the hidden tunnels outside Konoha that led to the main base of NE. If that proved impossible, then a true evaluation of the Jinchuriki's fighting abilities would be their goal. In a fight for his life, the boy would go all out in a panic. That wouldn't prove hard to handle, considering all of the team he was sending to capture the boy were all at least high Chunin level and the boy was, chakra aside, only a high genin at absolute best. A side objective would be forcing the boy's Umbu watchdogs to break cover, which would give his men a chance to discover clues as to their identities and cause a break in the boy's faith in the old monkey at finding out he was constantly under the aegis of the Umbu. Win-win-win, as far as Danzo was concerned. At length, he entered the medical lab where the team was undergoing their body modifications. The 4 ninja were being attended to by several NE mednin. None were on the level of Tsunade of the Sunin, but many hands make light work regardless. Operative number 34, report. Danzo commanded. Agents number 543, 647, 753 and 412 will be fully modified by midday, Danzo-sama the head mednin replied in a monotone. Agents were the low-ranking field ninja of NE, while operatives were the senior wing. Very similar to the Chunin/Jonin divide. And how long until they are back to full usability? Danzo demanded. It is estimated at being between 6 and 7 hours post-surgery. Number 34 replied. Danzo nodded. Very well. Inform me immediately upon the recovery of these 4. I will give them their instructions personally. Hi, Danzo-sama. Later. Sakura's home. Harano Sakura grunted in mild pain as her father easily threw her over his shoulder and onto the ground of the small training area that he had in the basement of their house. She hadn't known it was here until her father had decided to improve her taijutsu. What had made it worse was Naruto was doing exactly the same when she visited him. Her body had never ached more than in the last month or so. Mind in the game, Sakura-chan. Kaizashi scolded her. Sorry, Oto-san, she apologized, it's just that between you and Naruto training me 5 days a week, I'm a bit tired. You'll get used to it, her father informed her briskly, as long as you don't overdo it, you should notice that your endurance will increase gradually. Up you get now. Fine. Sakura moaned as she staggered to her feet. By the way, Naruto recommended that I get a better outfit for when I graduate. Sensible was all Kaizashi would say. Oto-san, what exactly is wrong with my outfit? Sakura gestured at her battle dress. Nothing's wrong, poor Essie. Kaizashi corrected, it's merely that it's too bright and not armored. In a C-rank mission, you would be all but defenseless and have to rely on the Kawarimi no Jutsu, natural speed and agility and pure luck to avoid enemy attacks. Not to mention it would be hard to blend in with the red color. But these are the colors of the Harano clan. Sakura protested. You should wear a clan patch on your clothes to declare your clan affiliation, but you should choose a more subdued color scheme for combat missions, her father advised her. Preferably with some armor covering your vital locations, if not your limbs as well. The pink-ette winced at the thought of having her arms or legs targeted by enemy ninja and resolved to get arm guards and leg guards. Your mother said that Naruto-san was wearing new clothes. Kaizashi mused, do you happen to know where he got them? He said from a place called Higurashi's. Sakura replied, Koji said it was a high-end place. They make the best damn ninja gear in Konoha is more like it, the pink-haired man snorted, the stuff for Genin is very reasonably priced given how high quality it is. We'll go there a couple of days before your graduation and buy you a combat outfit. You can wear your usual outfit for D ranks. Now, how are you coming along with that jutsu Naruto-san gave you? Sakura beamed. It's such an easy jutsu to use. I don't get why Naruto can't use it himself. Demonstrating, she walked over to a sparring post and smashed her fist into it, leaving a sizable dent that was shockingly out of proportion to what her skinny arms should have been capable of. You do realize that most people wait until they're Chunin before they learn that jutsu, her father deadpanned. Sakura looked shocked. The chakra control requirement to use this technique usually takes quite a lot of time to perfect, he noted blandly, yet to you, it's easy. Little cherry blossom of mine, I think I should invest in a genjutsu scroll of mine for you. Oto-san, please don't call me that if we're in public, his daughter whined. Later. With Naruto. The blonde boy looked at the screen in front of him as he sat down at his table. Some weapons, armor, and other items have minimum requirements before you can use them in combat. This might be as simple as a minimum level to reach before they can be used, while others can vary between various stat requirements. Completed quests or a certain monster needs to be slain or even a mixture of all of the above. While training with weapons, all requirements are ignored. What a freaking pain. Naruto grumbled. He was only level 12, Tsubaki and Sumire required level 15 in order to wield them. There went his big plan to cut a swath through sub-area 3 of training ground 13. There again, it's only 3 levels, so maybe he could power level somehow. Shaking his head, the Uzumaki decided to leave it be for the moment. Everything was prepared for when Asuma moved in. The utility companies had reluctantly acknowledged the soon-to-be increase in power and water his place was about to have, and his clones, after some trial and error, had turned on the electricity and water for Asuma's chosen apartment. Right now, the taps were all on, allowing any buildup of contaminants and rust to be vomited out and removed from the pipes. His clones had also been busy dusting and cleaning the entire apartment until it looked spotless. If nothing else, it would look good when Asuma arrived. All that was left to clean were the sinks and the bath/shower once they stopped vomiting up rust and dirt. Calligraphy practice, then he shrugged and made some more kage bunshin. After getting his calligraphy stuff out, he joined his clones in working at it. What with all of the physical training he'd been doing in the last month, calligraphy had kind of fallen to the wayside. But he was still only a little away from gaining the 10th level in his skill, the requisite level needed to learn. After an hour of effort, he dispelled his clones and accumulated all of the experience they had built up. The result was gratifying. Has leveled up? LV9 LV10. Finally. Naruto cheered. He hurriedly reached inside his inventory and drew out the scroll he had been carrying around for over a month. Do you wish to learn it? Y/N. Bet your ass I do. Naruto muttered and stabbed the Y button with one finger. Much to his relief, the scroll dissolves into blue light and is absorbed into him as usual. Fuinjutsu is the art of writing out formulae aimed towards a specific end. It is said that so long as you have the correct formula and enough chakra to activate it, there is nothing that you cannot do. Be warned, however, as one wrong stroke can cause explosions of a life-threatening nature. You are not able to experiment with only. Members of the Uzumaki clan have a natural flair with an understanding of Fuinjutsu and receive a +5 bonus to all attempts at the art. Basic Fuinjutsu allows you to create basic storage scrolls. At higher levels, you can create storage scrolls that can hold more in them. Then you unlock basic exploding tags. Allows the creation of. Requires 100 CP in order to empower each scroll. 25% chance of failure. Practicing Fuinjutsu also gives bonus EXP too. Beneath all that were the step-by-step instructions on how to create a storage scroll. Naruto was a bit put out that it would only hold a single kunai or shuriken, but it was a place to start, if nothing else. Okay you guys. Naruto declared, we are gonna practice Fuinjutsu like crazy. These practice scrolls are all very fine and dandy, but not for combat. Boss, we're almost out of ink, one clone stated. Yeah, and we only have about 20 blank scrolls, another added. Grr. Fine, the Uzumaki growled, you turn into Iruka-sensei and go get us more ink. You go to Higurashi's and buy as many blank scrolls as you can. On it boss, the clones chorus and leave the apartment at a run. Meanwhile, you guys start practicing on this storage scroll. Naruto continued, creating and then dispelling another shadow clone so its knowledge was spread throughout the pre-existing clones. Then go outside to the roof away from the flowers. And activate them. As the other clones started grabbing scrolls, Naruto mused that having shadow clones was something of a lifesaver. This way, he could test the scrolls without having to risk getting blown up in person. A short while later. With Iruka. The Scar Chunin was taking a stroll over to see his favorite student when he heard the explosion. It clearly came from Naruto's apartment building, so Iruka immediately used a shunshin to teleport to his destination immediately. Landing on the roof in a puff of smoke, he was shocked to see the burnt and tattered remains of a scroll lying on the floor. Okay, a familiar voice said, much to the Chunin's relief, that last part on the secondary array was not right. How many of you numbskulls did it the same as him? Only one of you. Good. Let's try that again, shall we? Naruto. Iruka called out cautiously. The blonde hair of his student poked out the door, followed by his blue eyes. Iruka-sensei? How'd you get on my roof? The blonde boy asked in puzzlement. Well, when I heard a loud bang coming from here, I used the Shunshin no Jutsu to come here as fast as I could. Iruka explained, now. Judging by the techno-babble you just spouted and the remnants of the scroll out here, You've started working on Fuinjutsu, right? Yeah, just those wimpy Type 1 scrolls. Naruto replied with a small pout, I mean, what's the point of having a sealing array that only seals a single kunai or shuriken? It has to do with standardization. Iruka explained, all ordinary kunai and shuriken have a standard weight and size. This makes them very easy to acquire and use as test items. Besides, never underestimate the usefulness of an extra weapon, no matter how humble, in a pinch. Naruto nodded at that, somewhat appeased by his explanation. Iruka spent the next hour correcting the various mistakes that the clones had made in the various test scrolls that they had made. Some, he informed them, were very basic mistakes made by rookie seal masters. Others were just as a result of bad penmanship, which he was determined to correct. Privately, Iruka was very impressed with the speed with which Naruto had learned and practiced his calligraphy. Only 1 month after he had started, he was at the bare minimum level of penmanship needed to use the most basic of Fuinjutsu. While that would be expected of a high clan such as the Uchiha or Hyuga, for someone deprived of such upbringing to accomplish it almost entirely on his own was quite the feat. Okay, this one looks like it'll work, Iruka said after carefully examining the latest of Naruto's creations. He wasn't an expert in Fuinjutsu by any means, but he was modestly skilled in the art, making explosive tags for the few missions that he took in addition to his teaching job. Certainly, he was skilled enough to spot a major or minor error in a simple storage scroll. Once more, a volunteer shadow clone strode out onto the roof to activate the storage scroll. This time, thank Kami, it didn't blow up. That's the first test passed, Iruka said with an approving nod. What are the other tests? Naruto asked. You have to seal and unseal a kunai a couple of times to see if it works properly, the Chunin explained, then you can say that it works. Nodding, the blonde boy opened his leg holster, pulled out a kunai by the ring and tossed it to his test clone. The clone reluctantly placed the weapon on top of the scroll and pressed one finger to the array. In a puff of chakra smoke, the dagger-like weapon vanished and the kanji for kunai appeared in the center of the scroll. Next the clone muttered as he pulsed chakra into the array again, unsealing the kunai in another puff of smoke. After repeating the experiment a couple more times for good measure, the frazzled clone dispels and Naruto went over and scooped up the scroll before proffering it to Iruka. Here Iruka-sensei, you can have this if you want, he mumbled bashfully. Iruka was actually touched by this. It was Naruto's first successful piece of Fuinjutsu and he was giving it to his teacher. Thanks you Naruto, he said with a smile as he rolled the small scroll up and pocketed it, I'll make good use of it. If you want me to help you out with any other Fuinjutsu, just let me know. Sure. Naruto beamed. Naruto POV. After talking for a while longer, Iruka took his leave and Naruto dispelled the clones, prompting a rush of memories and a deluge of screens popping up. Geez, you'd think they'd only come one at a time, he grumbled good-naturedly, let's see here. The first couple were notices that his skill had gained bonus EXP from his attempts at Fuinjutsu. About 100 point overall, which wasn't anything to sneeze at. Next was the notice regarding the failure of the first storage scroll, which sucked. The second to last set was very interesting. Apparently, similar to when the Chunin Kitamura helped him with his Shuriken Jutsu. Having Iruka do one-on-one tutoring had given him an EXP bonus on top of the bonus he received for being a member of the Uzumaki clan. He was already close to level 2 inches. The last was very interesting. By starting down the path of using Fuinjutsu, you have become eligible for the hidden quest. Honoring your ancestors, you come from a distinguished line of Fuinjutsu users. Honor their memory by becoming a sealing master adept in 4 years or less. Quest goal, master, and their Uzumaki equivalents in the next 4 years. Quest reward, title, 100,000 EXP, map of Uzushiagakuer. Quest failure, death. Accept. Y/N. Yet another chance for me to die if I fail. Naruto grumbled as he jabbed the Y button, met. After that, the blonde boy reheated some katsudon that he'd had for dinner the previous night and used the last of his rice in the rice cooker for lunch. He would have to go shopping again soon, which would mean transforming into someone else so he wasn't gouged. He sighed and looked out his money. He would have to buy a week's worth, so that meant damn. That's a lot of ryo. He could afford it, but it wouldn't be cheap. Even without the shopkeepers gouging him with prices, food prices in Konoha had skyrocketed thanks to Kusagakuer engaging in a small war with Takigakuer, according to Iruka-sensei. Time to see what Tenten-chan thinks of those buken I got from training area 13, he muttered as he headed down to the dojo. After carefully counting them out, he had 30 wooden swords, all in perfect condition, not counting that strange golden buken. Leaving out 6 buken for himself, Naruto sealed the rest into the one storage scroll that he owned and headed out to Higarashi's in order to see if they would buy the practice weapons from him. After walking through Konoha, Naruto entered the weapons shop proper, only to be tackle-hugged by an enthusiastic brunette. Naruto. Thank you. Tenten crowed gleefully, now I can get my sword. Ten-chan let him breathe, her mother said absently from behind the counter as she sharpened Itachi. Tenten squeaked and let go of Naruto, who was once again blue in the face from the weapons mistress' enthusiastic glomp. You're welcome, Tenten-san, he wheezed once he had breath back in his lungs as the genin kunoichi fussed over him apologetically. So what can we do for you this time, Naruto-kun? Connie asked as she carefully placed the sword she was sharpening on the counter. You were in here just a few hours ago for blank scrolls. For Fuinjutsu? Tenten asked in surprise. Yeah. Just made my first Type 1 storage scroll earlier on today with Iruka-sensei's help, the blonde boy replied, but I'm not here about that. I found some things in Training Ground 13 that I need to sell. The food prices are going up thanks to that war in Kusa. Connie made a face. I know, but hopefully that won't go on for much longer. What do you have to offer us? Naruto took out the scroll, placed it on the counter and unsealed the swords. These. The Higurashi matriarch picked up the nearest buken and examined it with a critical eye, even going so far as to give it an experimental practice swing. Replacing it on the counter, she asked carefully, and you say you found these in Training Ground 13? Yep. How does 10,000 ryo per blade sound to you? She asked. Naruto grinned. Sold. Tenten carried the swords to the section that was made up entirely of practice weapons as her mother counted out 240,000 ryo and handed it over to Naruto, who tucked it into Gama-chan. You gain 240,000 ryo. I suppose that explains where that shipment went missing, at least. Connie sighed. Sorry. Naruto asked. A couple of months back, half of one of our shipments of wooden practice weapons went missing. Tenten explained as she came back. There were buken, practice spears, nagamaki, naginata. All sorts in the shipment. Cost us a fair bit of ryo to replace. Oh. I found 10 or so practice spears too. Naruto said, I'll bring them tomorrow. I guess since they were yours to begin with I should give you your money back. No. Connie denied adamantly, consider the money we pay you as a finder's fee. The shipment was insured and we got paid for it. Bandit attack, of all the bad luck. What worries me is the fact that they turned up in TG-13 in the first place. Tenten put in, that would imply there's a hole in the defenses that non-chakra users can exploit in there. I'll have a look next time I'm in there. Naruto shrugged, I'm planning on moving into sub-area 3 tomorrow. The first sub-area had chakra-mutated squirrels and the second had chakra-mutated moles, so I'm curious to see what this next R has in store for me. I see. Connie nodded before turning to her daughter, Ten-chan, what are you up to tomorrow? Tenten blinked at the apparent non-sequitur, but replied, nothing, I think. Guy-sensei is off on a solo mission, Niji is off training with his clan and Lee is following some kind of ridiculous training schedule that Guy-sensei left behind for him to follow. Why don't you go with Naruto-kun on his training mission tomorrow? Connie suggested, from everything you've said, Naruto-kun, you're more of a close-range fighter, right? It would be an idea to see how a ranged fighter like Tenten operates. She's very good at shuriken jutsu. Oka-san, the brunette flushed in embarrassment at her mother's effusive praise. Sure. Naruto nodded, if Tenten wants to come with me tomorrow, I'm fine with that. It'll be nice to work with an active duty shinobi. Sure. Tenten nodded shyly. Okay then. Meet at my place at midday then, the Uzumaki said with a grin, looking forward to working with Yat. After a few more moments of conversation, Naruto headed back to his apartment and Tenten busied herself with polishing more of the swords. Leaving Connie to retreat to the back room and inform her husband of the plans for tomorrow. What are you plotting, oh wife of mine? Tatsuhiko suspiciously as he hammered the chakra metal before him into the right shape, this has all the hallmarks of one of your little plots. I'm setting Ten-chan up with Naruto-kun. Connie stated blandly, if nothing else, they'll become better friends. At best, she might finally get over that Niji boy. Both adult Higurashi scowled at the mention of one Hyuga Niji. Tenten had been crushing on the boy since the third year of the academy and had been teamed up with him as she had been top kunoichi and he had been rookie of the year. With Rock Lee thrown in as the dope. Niji had been breaking her heart ever since, constantly rebuffing any advances she made and generally treating her like an almost competent lackey, albeit not a very smart one. Let's just say that Tatsuhiko and Connie were not fond of the boy and leave it at that. Naruto-kun is a nice boy, but he is almost a year younger than Ten-chan. Tatsuhiko protested gruffly. And I'm 5 years younger than you. Connie reminded him gently, the only other difference between us and them is that Ten-chan is a ninja and Naruto-kun isn't one yet. Tatsuhiko, entering protective daddy mode for the first time, did not want his steel-eyed princess to be taken away by a boy quite so soon. Granted, Naruto was a nice enough boy, who knew fine well how strong Tenten was from the couple of times she had almost choked him to death and seemed to respect her. Rather than look down on her like more than a few civilian boys did. But still. His little girl. Connie sighed at seeing the conflict in his eyes. Anita, she may fall for him, then again she may not. I think that, at the very least, they have the foundations of a solid friendship. Let's just see where it goes, shall we? Yes dear, the blacksmith sighed. The next day. Amekage Apartments. When Tenten knocked on Naruto's door, she was surprised at the sight of his clones at work, churning out numerous storage scrolls. What the heck are those? She asked him with wide eyes. Shadow clones. Naruto replied, it's a kinjutsu that I can use only because I have bucket loads of chakra. Ordinarily, it can only be used by Jonin level ninja, at least. Why haven't you graduated if you can use those? The weapons mistress asked in bewilderment. I only learned the technique a month and a half ago. Naruto explained, it was a special dispensation, I think Irika-sensei called it, from Jiji. Because I can't do the ordinary Bunjin no Jutsu to save my life. Seriously? You can't use the Bunjin? Tenten was taken aback by that before shrugging, meh. No one uses that jutsu once they graduate from the academy anyway. I haven't, not even on the C rank missions I've been on. Knew it? Naruto muttered. So why are they copying stuff out, she continued. Mass production of Type 1 storage scrolls, the Uzumaki replied with a shrug, practice makes perfect, after all. But they're only clones. Tenten pointed out. Yeah, but when they dispel, I get the accumulated experience of their existence, the blonde boy pointed out in return. It's an ability unique to the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu that makes learning ninjutsu, fuinjutsu, and book learning a snap. Higurashi Tenten wasn't a jealous person by nature, but the revelations regarding the usefulness of the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu did spark a slight amount of the emotion in her. But she brushed it away with some effort and turned her mind to the question of why he could do this. If he couldn't use the Bunshin, then being able to use a more powerful version must mean that no, surely not. You have too much chakra and too poor a control on it to use the Bunshin, she said flatly, while a lack of control doesn't hinder you with the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. I'm right, aren't I? Naruto nodded sourly. My inheritance as an Uzumaki means that E-rank jutsu like the Bunshin are hard or impossible for me to use. I'm actually perfectly good at the Henge no Jutsu and the Kawarimi no Jutsu, but the Bunshin uses too little chakra for me to use it. That sucks. Tenten had to wince at that. Meh. I'm graduating this time for sure though, so it's all good. Naruto grinned, let me grab my kunao pack and we can go. As the boy dashed into his bedroom to fetch the aforementioned pack of weapons, Tenten had a peek at one of the completed and activated storage scrolls. It was a bit rough, but otherwise it was very good. Nice job, she nodded to the clones, who all blushed. Just wait until we get up to regular storage scrolls, one declared. I'd be interested in seeing that, the weapons mistress said with a nod. Sorry for the wait. Naruto said as he hurried back into the room, right, let's go. With that, he gestured at the dozen shadow clones and they dispelled in 2s and 3s. If I dispel them all at once, I get a headache. Naruto answered the question in Tenten's eyes, 2 or 3 at a time with a few seconds in between dispersals is fine though. The older girl nodded, but her mind was working fast. The shadow clone jutsu looked like a very powerful technique, with several drawbacks that justly earned it the title of Kinjutsu in her book. Why would Hokage-sama allow Naruto to learn such a dangerous jutsu when he isn't even a genin yet, she wondered, why not one of the elemental clones instead? With Naruto. Naruto whispered as he looked at Tenten as the two walked down the street, making her profile come up. Name, Higurashi Tenten. Class, Weapons Mistress. Level, 22. Next level, 56.32. Title, Genin. Age, 14. HP, 3650/3650. CP, 2600/2600. STR, 41. STA, 42. Dex, 52. Int, 25. WIS, 25. Luck, 15. Special status, Hawkeye, Unknown Ninja Heritage. Intermediate Weapons Combat Mastery. Perks, Will of Steel. True Kunoichi. Natural Talent. Flaws, Hot-Tempered. Controlled Fangirl. Partially Sealed Chakra Pool. Higurashi Tenten is the top kunoichi of her academy class, a prodigy in the use of any and all weapons that she can lift with her hands, with a special flair for shuriken jutsu. Despite this, she is a fair, friendly person, with a slight dislike for fangirls, despite having similar leanings towards Senjutsu Nate of the legendary Three Ninja. Naruto was very, very impressed by Tenten's stats. Her dex stat in particular was off the charts. How the hell did she get it so high only a year out of the academy? He considered two anomalous points on her profile, the special status and the flaw. The former was fairly straightforward in that she was descended from a ninja clan of some description, probably one of the clans all but wiped out during the day of the Kyubi 12 years ago. Was another thing though. From what his basic knowledge of Fuinjutsu told him, sealing someone's chakra, even slightly, was a difficult task to accomplish for even someone of Jiraiya of the Sun in skill without causing unfortunate side effects. As Tenten didn't show any of those side effects, unstable personality, inability to use chakra and muscular spasms, she had obviously been correctly sealed. Why she had been sealed was a good question, though. Sealing someone's chakra, even partially, was rarely done for any reason other than punishment, so the question was, who had sealed her chakra and why did they do it? Born of Steel, your friend Higurashi Tenten is an orphan who has had her chakra partially sealed for some reason. Investigate her origins in order to discover why it has been done. Quest reward, plus 1500 EXP, plus 2000 Ryo, Tankin, plus 2 STR. Quest failure, plus 300 EXP. Accept. Y/N. Why is there a 1 next to the quest name? Naruto wondered. A chain quest is when the completion of one quest automatically leads to the creation of one related to it. Basic chain quests can have as few as 2 parts to them, but the more complex ones can reach up to 15 in a row. Understanding this, Naruto paused uncertainly. He was curious about why Tenten had had some of her chakras sealed, but he felt that prying into her past without permission would be distinctly rude. She was a genin with more than adequate chakra reserves, so obviously the seal wasn't interfering in her ninja career to any degree. Did he have a right to interfere in her life to that degree? Surely just looking into it can't hurt, he reasoned as he pushed the Y button. We're here, Tenten declared, startling Naruto, who looked up in surprise. They were indeed standing right in front of Training Ground 13. That went by fast, Naruto observed. You were really lost in thought as we walked, Tenten noted, something up. Nah. Naruto shook his head, it's nothing. So how do you want to do this? Actually, have you ever fought any chakra mutations before? Nope, the brunette shook her head once. Guy Sensei says that fighting those who are mutated is unyouthful, if you can believe it. The blonde academy student looked at her blankly as if to say, seriously? Okay then, he said after his mind rebooted, in which case, we'll start off in sub-area 1 to get you accustomed to fighting chakra mutations. They are a bit different to humans. Noda. Tenten deadpanned before grinning, lead on then. Hold up. Naruto picked a stone up from the ground, Doton, Gansutsukan no Jutsu. As the stone transformed into a long staff, Tenten jumped slightly and stared. Whoa. Didn't know you could turn rocks into weapons, she said a bit jealously. Basic Doton Jutsu. Naruto shrugged. So is Earth your primary affinity? The brunette asked interestedly. Nope, I have a wind affinity primarily, with a sub-affinity for Earth. Naruto replied, what about you? I don't know. Tenten admitted sheepishly, my team focuses on the physical side of things, taijutsu, weapon styles, and shuriken jutsu, to the exclusion of all else. The only real ninjutsu I know are the Academy 3. That's... Naruto was struck dumb by the stupidity of that training style, before he remembered something. Your team has that Rock Lee guy, right? The one who can't use ninjutsu or genjutsu. Maybe that's why your teacher isn't training you in it, to make things fairer on him. True that, and the Hyuga prodigy, Niji, is on my team too. Tenten nodded glumly. He disdains anything that isn't the Juken Taijutsu style of the Hyuga clan. So I'd be the only one learning anything. That's still unfair to you, the Uzumaki frowned before shrugging. Meh. If I find any jutsu scrolls in here, have a look at them and see if they interest you. Heck, I'll even teach you the couple of wind and earth techniques that I know. This earned him another hug from the brunette. Inside Sub-Area 1. Holy crap! Tenten gawked at the three as they snarled at her and Naruto. Those things are huge. Yep, and they're about to charge. Naruto said grimly, so get ready. Doton, IWA Bunshin no Jutsu. As 20 rock clones clawed their way out of the ground, Tenten gawked for another moment before shaking herself out of her stupefaction and drawing a kunao in each hand. Any hints for weak spots? She asked. Once they leap, they're vulnerable, but they can still twist in midair, so jump in, slash and retreat. Naruto advised as he spun his staff in a familiar way. Here they come. While the chakra mutated squirrels were fast and agile, for an experienced kunoichi like Tenten, who sparred against taijutsu monsters like Rock Lee and Hyuga on a regular basis. They may as well have been moving in slow motion. Countercharging the mutations, the weapon's mistress deftly sliced the throat of the first squirrel before throwing her offhand kunao into the forehead of the next one. She then leapt up over the last one and buried her weapon up to the hilt into the base of its skull. Holy crap! She took them down without even breaking a sweat. Naruto thought in stunned awe. He hadn't been able to one-shot the damn things until just recently, and that was with careful aim with his staff. Tenten had managed it with 2 kunao. Yikes! Naruto whispered. These things weren't so tough, the brunette said with a grin as she retrieved her blades. Considering they're the weakest mutations in the whole area and you're an experienced genin, that isn't a surprise. Naruto noted, I call those ones. They have bigger cousins I call and they're a lot tougher. Oh. Then let's get to finding them. Tenten said as she wiped her weapons clean of blood. Nodding, Naruto led her through the trees, surreptitiously closing the window detailing how much EXP had been divided between him and Tenten. Evidently, even an ad hoc party like this still allowed for splitting experience between party members. So how many jutsu have you found in here anyway? Tenten asked as the two kept their eyes out for any. F5. Naruto replied, Doton, Gansutsukan, a scroll on basic Fuinjutsu, Futon, Kaiten Shuriken, Doton, Dangan and Ninpo, Karata Kyoto Kyoka. What's the last one? The weapons mistress asked curiously. A very much lesser version of Senjutsu Nade's chakra enhanced strength. Naruto replied. Seriously? Tenten squealed, can I borrow it? Please. Sorry, I gave that jutsu scroll to a classmate of mine as a present, the blonde boy said apologetically. If we find another one here, it's your though. My chakra control is way too spotty to use the blasted technique. This earned him a grin and a nod from the brunette. With Tenten's superior strength, it only took them half an hour to clear Sub-Area 1 and move on to Sub-Area 2. Here, Tenten had a great deal of trouble against the mutated moles, as the Dangan they fired off were immune to her thrown weapons. She switched to close combat and unsealed a Sansetsukan. Leaping around the boulders to smash the over the head so quickly they had no time to hit her with their claws. The kunoichi clearly knew how to strike the chakra mutations for best effect, crushing their skulls with every blow she dealt out. Naruto made a mental note for the umpteenth time to not get on her bad side. You are a very scary girl, you know that, Tenten, he said after the last mole fell to her. Why thank you, the brunette beamed at him, as if she hadn't had such a nice compliment in ages. Naruto made another note to himself that strong kunoichi were slightly weird. As they made their way to the entrance of the next area, Naruto compared his style with Tenten's and found it wanting. She moved quickly and precisely through her enemies, dealing with them with minimum expenditure of effort and maximum amount of damage. "Hey Tenten, what taijutsu style do you use?" he asked curiously. "Oh, I don't really use a taijutsu style," the brunette replied. "I almost always have at least a kunao out, preferably more than one. When I do fight barehanded, I guess I use a modified version of the Heikichi style that my dad calls the Sokoken or armed fist style. Mostly because I wear these." The kunoichi unsealed a set of armored gloves and showed them to him. The back of the hand and fingers were lined with a layer of interlocking plates of shaped steel. The knuckle guards had small spikes jutting up to increase the damage of her punches further. "Yikes, remind me to get some armor for my arms for when I spar with you," Naruto joked. Tenten grinned smugly. "Got that right." Just before they reached the door. "Bloodlust detected. Above and to both sides." Naruto reacted immediately, tackling Tenten to the ground as a pair of kunao and a senbon whistled through the place she had been standing only seconds before. "What the dash," the kunoichi snarled as she rolled to her feet. "Someone's attacking us," Naruto said just before he had to duck as another kunao whistled through the air again. "These are live weapons," the brunette cursed as she drew her own from her rear holster. "Who are they?" "Not got a clue," he replied. "I aim to find out though." All clones bombard the tree line. As numerous Gansatsukan pelt the trees like rain, Tenten had to ask, why are they throwing their staves? "They can be used as either close combat weapons or as ranged weapons," the blonde explained hurriedly. "Aha! Got one of the bastards." Indeed, one of the assailants fell from a tree with a Gansatsukan impaled through his leg. He wore blue combat trousers with white splotches dotted over it, a slate gray shinobi vest and a hitayate with 4 diagonal lines in a square formation engraved on it, with a single horizontal line bisecting it. "Kirigaku Renuknin," Naruto shouted in warning. "That's right, brat," the fallen man said in a monotone as he nonchalantly tugged the stone stave out of his leg. "We were going to sell you and the girl, but for wounding me, we'll make you watch as we ruin her before we sell her." The man was soon joined by 3 other missing ninja, all from Kirigaku. One made a lewd gesture at Tenten with his hips. The blonde orphan ground his teeth together in anger. He glanced at Tenten and recoiled as anger seemed to emanate from her like a tangible, physical force. Her expression was almost demonic and the blonde boy was very, very grateful that she was on his side. Without saying a word, she pulled out 2 scrolls from her specially made side pouches, slammed them down onto the ground and then rapidly ran through 5 hand signs: tiger, dragon, monkey, hare and snake before crossing her arms. "Ninpo," she growled, "Sashoryu." An explosion of smoke concealed her before a pair of long streams of smoke rose up. Naruto blinked as they actually looked like dragons. They stretched up, reaching high into the heavens, and Tenten was rising up rapidly to match them. "Ruin me? Sell me and Naruto," she hissed. "We'll see about that." I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, subscribe to my channel for more fan fictions like this, and goodbye.